What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtery here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down some winners and losers for Alabama. Now that their spring practice camp has officially wrapped up, they had their A-Day practice, whatever you want to call it. They had that this past weekend. So we're going to break down some winners and losers from spring practice. Now, I'll be completely honest, the losers side of things were a whole lot harder to pick than the winner's side, just because I think there's been a lot of positivity so far for Alabama and this team going into year two under Cayden DeBoer in spring practice. There's been a lot of positive buzz. There hasn't been too much negative stuff to really talk about. So the loser's side was a little bit hard to think of names there, but we're going to do our best on today's video. Make sure you guys go and turn those notifications on for me as well. We got a lot of recruiting news to talk about as well coming up here in the next couple of months, and I do not want you guys to miss anything on that. So go back to the main page where you first subscribed. Go and hit that bell icon. Change it from personalized to all so you get notifications for every single one of our Alabama football videos that we've got going for you guys. So make sure you guys join the Noti Gang and turn those notifications on for me. All right, I kind of did this a couple of times, I'm going to be honest. The first group of players, I'm going to say, you got a lot of multiple backups that I'm going to put on this winners list today. And the reason I did that was because there was a lot of injuries so far here during the springtime. And you had a lot of backups that got a lot of meaningful reps, just to be able to, work with the first team and things like that. And, the development for a lot of these backups has, really, taken another step here. Some of those, notable backups, I think, and I think I could have put more than just these guys on here, but these are some of the main guys that, really crossed my mind here. Lindsey, obviously, that tight end room is super banged up right now, and he is the last man standing. So, he got a lot of reps the other day for Alabama's spring day or A-Day, whatever you want to call it. Olaus Alinen, I think really he's going to be working more. Alabama sees him at that guard spot, but he got a lot of opportunity working at that tackle position as well. And, with Caden Proctor being out for spring, you got Arkell there as well at that tackle spot. But if something happens, Olaus Alinen at least has been there and has taken a lot of reps there with the first-team offense, and I do think that's notable as well. Then you look to the linebackers, Cayden Jones, QB Reese. Those guys have been working with the first team a lot, and, you really didn't hear a lot of reporting about the linebackers early on in spring. But, here in the last week or two, there's been a lot of positivity about both Cayden Jones and QB Reese as well. There's been a lot of buzz from QB Reese coming out of that last practice. Obviously, it's the only one that anybody actually got a chance to see, but that is positive nonetheless. And then you also have Calhoun and Dijon Lee. Both of those guys got a lot of meaningful reps here during the springtime, with Damani Jackson out as well. So both of those guys are going to be two guys in that defensive secondary that it's going to be hard to keep those guys off the field. Obviously, you got Damani Jackson and you've got Zabian Brown there as those starters. But if anything happens to those guys, or, if for some reason, they're not playing up to that standard, you got guys on their heels right there, Dijon Lee and Calhoun, that can really, really make a difference in this Alabama defense as well. My winner number 2 here is going to be these wide receivers, man. I think the wide receiver group has gotten the most buzz so far out of spring. I think that secondary has as well, but with all the additions that you've made in this wide receiver room here, you get Jaylen Hale back after his injury last year. You add Isaiah Horton. The one guy that you really hadn't heard too much about really probably is Jaylen Mbakwe, but man, this wide receiver room, Germie Bernard, Ryan Williams, obviously he was out with injury, quote-unquote injury anyways, the last couple, weeks here of the spring. But, man, this wide receiver room, really, I don't think it's going to matter who is going to be playing quarterback next year. Alabama has a lot of weapons to get the ball to. It's just going to ultimately be up to that quarterback to be able to get those playmakers the ball. So name a spring practice winner for me here in the comment section of today's video. It is the pinned comment as well of today's video. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, that is totally fine. Get down there in the comments and let me know what you guys think. All right, spring practice winner number 3 here. I got to go Ty Simpson. I know, some people might get upset with that, but you should put all 3 quarterbacks because, all 3 quarterbacks got a lot of good work in. Well, the reason I mainly put Ty Simpson, and I was going to put all 3 quarterbacks on here, but then, it came across the wire. Alabama's having some press conferences this morning right before actually I filmed this video. Ryan Grubb said if we were playing a football game tomorrow, Ty Simpson would be the starter mainly because of consistency and just not turning the ball over as much as some of those other guys. Austin Mack the other day, I understand it's only one practice. It wasn't a very good one for him. Had multiple turnovers in that practice. I think he had 2 interceptions during the 11-on-11 drills, and there was another one, I think it was during 7-on-7, that probably should have been intercepted. But when it comes to this quarterback battle right now, it really does seem like Ty Simpson is the guy to beat. Obviously, you still have, the summertime, got to put in work there, obviously, and you got to be able to, put in work during fall camp as well to be able to hold on to that, starting quarterback spot. But Kalen DeBoer also said there's still a lot of room to grow for these guys, and it's not over yet. So just by me putting Ty Simpson on here, I'm not trying to say this quarterback battle is over yet, but Ty Simpson definitely put himself in a solid spot here during spring practice to eventually possibly be Alabama's starting quarterback next season. All right, the next spring practice winner, I'm just going to go with this entire freshman class, man. They have really been so impressive. Everything that we've heard out of, spring practice here from this freshman class is that these guys are very mature and they are able, if you didn't have the players on this roster, there are a lot of players that would be able to start right out of the gate for Alabama in their 2025 recruiting class. Obviously, Keelon Russell, probably not really in that quarterback battle right now, but still the talent is there for Keelon Russell. You got guys like Dijon Lee, who we talked about. Justin Hill could make an impact at that Wolf position as well. There are just a lot of guys, and really there's even more. Latsier Brooks is another one, that you could throw out there, but really seems like this staff really hit a home run in terms of their evaluations from that 2025 recruiting class. And it's not just the players, the athletic ability of these players, but it's the mindset, it's the mentality as well. They seem really, really mature as well. And you really do just got to give it to the coaching staff. I think they hit a home run, not just with the talent, but with the people that they recruited in that 2025 recruiting class. We'll continue with some losers here in just a second, but today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats now that the NBA playoffs are right around the corner, coming up this weekend, I do believe. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to tip-off, and they have killer last-minute deals. They have all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price is guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. And it's not just the NBA. You guys can go ahead and get tickets for Alabama football next year. Got Talladega coming up here in just a couple of weeks. That's always a very, very good time to go watch in person. And then you also always have Atlanta Braves tickets that you guys can get as well on that Game Time app. You guys can save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Theo Vaughn was in town this past weekend. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool as well. Game Time Picks, you can use this feature, and it just makes getting last-minute ticket buying even easier by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. They have zone deals. You can save even more when you choose the section and let Game Time choose the seat, because really it doesn't matter what seat you're going to be sitting in as long as you're in that same section that you would like to be in. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. That link's in the comment section and the description of today's video. So download the Game Time app today. They have last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, all guaranteed. All right, the next group of players that I'm going to talk about here on the losers side, it's really going to be these players with injuries, man. Alabama really did. They didn't necessarily get hit with the injury bug like a lot of people are really thinking. A lot of these injuries, came last season, and they're still working through some of these injuries as well. You look at guys like Deontay Lawson, James Smith, I know, was banged up. Caden Proctor had that shoulder issue, a good bit last season. So it's not like they really had a ton of, brand new injuries, I think. But when you just look at the amount of bodies, it's a lot of bodies from a lot of people that you really would have loved to have out there for spring practice. Danny Lewis Jr. at that tight end spot as well. Tight end room really, really thin right now. Damani Jackson, he was dealing with some stuff late in the season as well. Deontay Lawson coming back from that injury as well. Your punter, Alex Asparuhov, you would really like to have out there. That might be one of the biggest losers in terms of, on the injury side of things, because he is a freshman coming in, and you want those guys to get those valuable reps early on. And then most recently, Ryan Williams, Josh Cuevas, and Marshall Pritchett also went out with injuries the past couple of days as well. I don't think Ryan Williams is really anything to, be too freaked out about anyways, but Josh Cuevas either. Marshall Pritchett, we're just going to have to wait and see there. He did have that, knee brace on a couple of days ago. So, in terms of just everybody, I don't think there's a ton of major injuries to really be, super concerned about. But there were a lot of injuries, and, just missing out on that, developmental time is a big thing. And that's why, a lot of these guys ended up on the losers list here. So name a player that you think is unfortunately on the spring losers list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's show. All right, the only player that I could really think of, and really I hate doing it as well, is putting Isaiah Faga on here. When you looked at this defensive line, you got a lot of guys that, I still think Alabama's going to have to add to that defensive line room, especially the interior of the defensive line. You heard a little bit about Edric Hill, Jeremiah Beeman, all those guys, but really Isaiah Faga is one of the only guys that we really haven't heard too much about, and hopefully that is, just because we haven't heard about them. They just hadn't made the sources list in terms of, putting his name out there. Maybe he is doing a very good job, and I hope he is because, you talk about that quote from Kane Womack, a couple, I believe it was on March 7th, just over a month ago, talking about this defensive line depth, and the best way to help the defensive line depth there is by actually, developing some of these players. Maybe Isaiah Faga is doing that, keeping his head down, putting in the work, and, we just haven't heard that. But because we haven't heard it, I'm going to put Isaiah Faga on the losers list here. And then because, honestly, it was just so hard to find a lot of losers on this list, I'm going to go Tennessee fans here. And because at least we're not going through the same thing they're going through, right? Nico Iamaleava ended up hitting the transfer portal this past weekend for Tennessee. At least we're not having to deal with those kind of quarterback issues right now. So I'm going to go put Tennessee fans here on the losers list. Go type an LOL in the comment section for me, just to troll some of those Tennessee fans out there. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report as well. Like I said earlier, we've got a lot of recruiting stuff to cover. Alabama also picked up another recruit on A-Day as well. So do not miss out. Make sure you guys are subscribed. That's youtube.com/@RollTideTV.